Hi, Write Writers, Cruz here. Thank you so much for joining me. In this video, we are going to write as many words as possible in 20 minutes. Our goal is to construct an essay with an introduction paragraph, a body paragraph, and a conclusion paragraph. If we have time, we might be able to sneak in some more body paragraphs, but we will see based on the timer. If you are joining us for the first time, thank you so much for subscribing and liking the videos within this channel. On Tuesdays, we primarily focus on essay writing, and on Thursdays, I utilize ChatGPT and basically input the same prompt and see how ChatGPT responds to the prompt that we use typically on Tuesdays. And those videos come out on Thursdays. They are shorter videos, whereas the Tuesday videos are a little bit longer and specifically over 20 minutes because I write for 20 minutes and then we sort of have some discussion. So thank you again for joining me. Right, writers, just keep in mind that I will provide this where I found this prompt with 100 persuasive writing prompts. I will provide the link in the description box below, and so that way you can access it to practice it. That said, Right Writers, let me go ahead and start my timer. And I've got my timer on for 20 minutes. We know what our prompt is. Should textbooks be replaced by tablets or e-readers? And now I need to go ahead and get started because my timer has started. So let me go ahead and take my prompt. And I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste it because I want to make sure that I reference the topic within the paragraph. And the question is, what, do I agree or disagree? Should textbooks be replaced by e-readers? And I'm going to say, no, I do not think that textbooks should be replaced by e-readers, by tablets or e-readers. I really feel that students should have the choice. And I will be talking about that definitely, I will be talking about that in my essay. So let's see. No, I do not think that textbooks should be replaced by tablets or e-readers. Or therefore, that's always my favorite, right, writers? For those of you who have been with me since the beginning, you know that that is one of my favorite transition words. Okay, so let's talk about, again, some of the positives. I know that textbooks are heavy. I know that they can weigh a student down. But not everyone likes to read on a tablet. Not everyone likes to read on a computer and have their e-readers. Some students prefer to, and even teachers, professors prefer to be able to write on the text and just to interact with it in a different way. Some people like the feel of a textbook and they're more tactile learners. And so they prefer this, something that they can touch versus the visual learners who just, can see the information on a screen and can take it in. So I want to bring that up even in the introduction and the conclusion. And let's see how I can begin here. I have 17 minutes and 45 seconds remaining, right, writers. So I'm going to go with lugging around heavy textbooks may seem like a chore to some. However, lugging around heavy textbooks may seem like a chore to some. However, others indeed, lugging around heavy textbooks may seem like a chore to some. No one can argue. Okay, I'm going to take that heavy, I think, out. And okay, so what I have, right, writers, is lugging around textbooks may seem like a chore. No one can argue with the fact that textbooks are indeed bulkier and heavier than tablets or e-readers. However, textbooks offer something unique. They give or they provide, they give tactile, they give learners tactile experiences or learners a tactile experience while reading. Some touching objects, for some touching and interacting with objects, or for many, touching and interacting with objects supports the learning process. And again, imagine, right, writers, you're trying to learn how to drive a car without actually getting to touch the steering wheel. Um, and I know that some of you take driver's ed courses or even pilots, they have these simulations. And they are useful, but you still have to get in the plane. You still have to get in the car to have the full experience. And so I'm going to bring up, maybe for many, looks like it wants me to put a comma here. For many, touching and interacting, for many learners, for many individuals, touching and interacting with objects supports the learning process. Therefore, I do not think that textbooks should be replaced by tablets or e-readers. So let's look at that one more time, right, writers, before I take that and make it a conclusion. Please keep in mind, right, writers, I'm at 12 minutes and just under 12 minutes remaining. Lugging around textbooks may seem like a chore. No one can argue with the fact that textbooks are indeed bulkier and heavier than tablets or e-readers. However, textbooks offer something unique. They give learners a tactile experience while reading. For many individuals, touching and interacting with objects supports the learning process. And maybe I should put touching and interacting with books supports the learning process. Therefore, I do not think that textbooks should be replaced by tablets or e readers. I am satisfied under the time constraints with what I've created for my introduction. Now, Right Writers, I'm going to copy and paste my introduction, make it my conclusion, but I'm going to move my last sentence, make it my first sentence, move my last sentence of my introduction, make it my first sentence of my conclusion, and then I'm going to do some rearranging before I get to my body paragraph. Therefore, I do not think that textbooks should be replaced by tablets or e-readers. Um, Textbooks, I'm going to take out these two sentences and I'm going to say textbooks offer something, instead of unique, I'm going to say offer something distinct. They give learners a tactile experience. And let me say they give learners a tactile experience. Being able to touch or touching and interacting with books. For many readers, touching and interacting with books supports the learning process. Okay, let's take a look at this conclusion, Right Writers. Again, timer's going. I've got time 9 minutes and about 15 seconds remaining. Therefore, I do not think that textbooks should be replaced by tablets or e-readers. Textbooks offer something distinct. They give learners a tactile experience. For many readers, touching and interacting with books supports the learning process. I think I want that to be one full sentence. And for many readers, that touching and interacting with books supports the learning process. Okay, I'm going with that, Right Writers, and now we've got to create a body paragraph. So, this idea of, again, the tactile experience, that's really what I'm focusing on. And so, let's see how I can bring this up. So, touching and interacting with books. Um, So just sort of writing, when you're in college, typically, you're going to the library, you're going to a coffee shop. So I'm just going to go ahead and start writing, Right Writers. I don't really know where this is going, but I know that that's typically where students, go to study. Um, so something like, typically students or students, typically students take their schoolwork to a quiet setting, perhaps library or a coffee shop. Indeed, it is easier to have one piece of equipment which holds all the information needed for a successful study session. Typically, students take their schoolwork, or maybe something like in a collegiate setting, students typically take their schoolwork to a quiet setting, or students often take their schoolwork to a quiet setting, perhaps a library or a coffee shop. Indeed, it is easier to have one piece of equipment, such as an e reader or a tablet, such as a tablet or e reader. Indeed, it is easier to have one piece of equipment, such as a tablet or an e reader, which holds all the information needed for a successful study session, or one object. To carry one object. Oops, don't really know what happened there, right, writers. Indeed, it is easier to carry one object, such as a tablet or an e reader, to such settings. Or that object holds all the information needed for a successful study session, no matter the class. However, incessantly staring at a screen for hours 2 minutes and 13 seconds remaining, right, writers? However, incessantly staring at a screen for hours places a visual burden on learners. In addition, students do not feel the transition from one class to the next. 1 minute and 20 seconds remaining, right, writers? Yet when one uses a textbook, Not only does the student feel the 48 seconds remaining, right, writers. In addition, students do not feel the transition from one class to the next. Yet when one uses a textbook, not only does the student um, experience a physical transition from one subject matter to the next, the student also feels, okay, I've got to change this, right, writers? Otherwise, I'm going to have a super long run on sentence. Okay, right, writers, that was my timer. I'm going to give myself maybe 1 more minute here. In contrast, when one uses a textbook, not only does the student experience a physical transition from one subject matter to the next, um, the student also feels may interact more. Student may also interacting more with the learning, with their learning. The tactile experience of working with a physical textbook. Okay, right, writers. I definitely went over the 20 minutes just a little bit. Let's take a look at what we've created and see how it sounds. So, again, topic: should textbooks be replaced by tablets or e readers? Taking it from the top, right, writers. Here we go. Lugging around textbooks may seem like a chore. No one can argue with the fact that textbooks are indeed bulkier and heavier than tablets or e readers. However, textbooks offer something unique. They give learners a tactile experience while reading. For many individuals, touching and interacting with books supports the learning process. Therefore, I do not think that textbooks should be replaced by tablets or e-readers. In a collegiate setting, students often take their schoolwork to a quiet setting. Ooh, I don't like that, right, writers, how I did setting and then setting. So I should have mentioned, in a collegiate setting, and maybe changing it to students often take their schoolwork to a quiet environment. So that was definitely an error on my part. Back to the reading. In a collegiate setting, students often take their schoolwork to a quiet setting, perhaps a library or a coffee shop. Indeed, it is easier to carry one object, such as a tablet or an e reader, to such settings, for that object holds all the information needed for a successful study session, no matter the class. Notice how I said setting 3 times, right, writers? That is a big no no. Moving on. However, incessantly staring at a screen for hours places a visual burden on learners. In addition, students do not feel the transition from one class to the next. In contrast, when one uses a textbook, not only does the student experience a physical transition from one subject matter to the next, the student may find themselves interacting more with their learning thanks to the tactile experience of working with an actual textbook. Therefore, I do not think that textbooks should be replaced by tablets or e readers. Textbooks offer something distinct. They give learners a tactile experience, and for many readers, that touching and interacting with books supports the learning process. Okay, right, writers. Definitely a generic, I mean, I would I would call this a really basic essay. Not very pleased with it. One of my big issues is this idea of setting, and setting. So I could have changed again this word to environment. I also feel like I should have focused on this idea of passive learning versus active learning. I could have included that, but sometimes you just have to submit what you submit in a timed environment, in a timed situation, and so you just have to roll with it and see, what kind of score you get and hope for the best. Again, this is part of what this channel is about. Sometimes I am not pleased with what I have created, and so I just have to, kind of swallow the frog, as they say. So, swallowing the frog, we will leave you with that, right, writers, and hopefully you will learn from my experiences. And through this process, you understand that, again, writing is a struggle, writing is a challenge, no matter how many essays you've written. Sometimes it's just the day, sometimes it's the time of the week. It just depends on has depends on many different factors. Thank you so much for joining me. We are here on Tuesdays, we are here on Thursdays. Tuesdays we write essays and we struggle through the writing process. Thursdays we relax and watch ChatGPT interact with the writing, and I share pretty much how ChatGPT approaches the writing prompts. Thank you again, Right Writers. Thank you for subscribing and liking the videos that you like, and subscribing to this channel and or recommending it to other learners. Take care. Love you guys. See you again soon. Bye-bye. Cruise out. Have a great rest of your week, Right Writers. Bye-bye.